Good morning, and once again, a very warm welcome to you from the membership of Knightswood Congregational Church. And again, I bring you this service, this time from the vestry of the church here at Knightswood. The reading, if you use the church service planner and you use it properly and listen or read, you'll hear the words today spoken by Jesus. Let me just repeat them. Whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet in the name of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And whoever welcomes a righteous person in the name of a righteous person will receive the reward of the righteous. And whoever gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones in the name of a disciple, truly I tell you, none of these will lose their reward. Our current pandemic crisis has turned some people into heroes, and I'm not particularly thinking of NHS heroes at this time. I'm not thinking of doctors and nurses or ambulance drivers or paramedics. I'm probably thinking of not even along the line of carers and binmen or shopkeepers, and they are heroes. But I'm thinking about the ordinary people, the people that you don't expect. I happened to witness a lovely touching event during one of my shopping trips. It was a young teenage girl, and she stepped forward and she stepped up and she helped an elderly blind man navigate his way through a supermarket queue, helping him to physically distance. And it turns out that she wasn't a relative, she wasn't his carer, she was in fact indeed a perfect stranger. But that young girl, a teenage girl, we often berate the teenagers in our society, she ignored everybody else who ignored him. And she stepped up. She saw a need. And she stepped up. So proud of her. I wish I knew her name. Isn't that a perfect modern day example of what Jesus is actually talking about in that passage? If we all started to be just a little bit kinder, to offer hospitality to one another, this world would indeed be a healthier and happier and more prosperous place, without a doubt. And notice, according to Jesus' words, it doesn't take a huge effort, not at all. It doesn't take an act of bravery to show a gesture of kindness. And we all know that. We've been on the receiving end of kindness many times. Just welcoming another person that God sends your way, just as that blind man was welcomed by that young teenage girl by giving a cup of cold water to a child, because you wouldn't give a cup of warm water, because cold water refreshes, just as the Lord refreshes our soul. So today, superheroes are not necessary, just everyday heroes. It's often interesting to me that we hear of heroic deeds and gestures. But it's also interesting to me that we often find it difficult to show gestures of kindness rather than perform heroic deeds. Now, I read recently, and it's from memory that I'm quoting this, of an American pastor who always made a point, maybe I should incorporate it into my wedding vows, of asking both the parties that he was marrying, and it was traditionally a male and female that he was marrying. He would ask them would they would be willing, only in America would they ask this, would they be willing to take a bullet for their partner? And the response was, yes, of course was the reply. And his reply was, well, that's wonderful and a testimony to your great love, and it's so good to hear. And then he would follow up with another question. Tell me this. If either of you were asked to do a daily chore, such as mow the lawn, take out the rubbish, pick up shopping on your way home from work, Would you be willing to do that without moaning and grumbling on a regular basis? Interestingly, there wasn't much in the way of response, and the enthusiasm for taking the bullet wasn't forthcoming when it was doing the daily chores. And perhaps that points to a truth. It's often easier for us as human beings, to show grand, heroic gestures, sometimes perhaps just for the attention, rather than to show the small gestures of kindness in the routine of everyday life. Now, ask me to rescue a baby from a burning building, and yeah, I'd probably snap into action and be up there like a shot. Ask me to take out the rubbish and mow the lawn and paint the ceilings and wash the windows and do everything that. I guarantee at some point I would have a moan and a whinge, but at least, hey, I'm honest about it. What about you? What a difference we can make if we become kinder in our relations with others. And I'm going to tell you another story in this again. I read on the internet. It was a story. It's it takes place about 25 years ago in I think it's the southern states of Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States of America. And the story is based on this offering the cold water to those who are thirsty, and the effects of that can do. And so this was a church in Atlanta, Georgia. I believe it's still on the go. It's called St. Mark's. I don't know anything more about it, but I know from what I heard on the internet and what I read, it was a dying church, probably very much like, in some ways, Knightswood is perceived to be. It was only the elderly congregation. There was only about 30 to 40 of them went every week, and each year the numbers got smaller. Recognise that scenario? Hey, we all do. But each year this church would witness the annual Gay Pride March go past their front door. And on this one time, it was their new minister who was outside the door of the church welcoming in these folks, when he noticed that the church across the road, a very evangelical, we're all evangelical, but a very fundamental church, a very conservative church across the road. And they have their place. Let me not decry that. They had hired security guards to stop any of the queers coming into the building. And this young minister, he was so appalled, distraught by what he witnessed that day, that he went back to his church folks and said, look, across the road, they've hired guards, they've put up barriers, surely we can do better. And so the following year, the little church opened the doors and began offering cups of water to those in the parade, whilst across the road hired security guards to keep folks out. But that gesture of welcoming queer folks and offering a cup of refreshing cold water was not only the right thing to do, but it heaped vast rewards for that church. Because a reporter happened to be near, and he happened to take note of the church. His report was called A Tale of Two Churches. I wonder if he was influenced by Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. I don't know. And so he wrote an article, and he said, St. Mark's became known as a gay, inclusive church. Inclusive not only to gay, but to people of colour, people of different backgrounds, different levels of economic wealth, and none. It became one of the largest churches within the region, whilst that conservative, evangelical, fundamental church across the street, well, the fate of that was it was eventually torn down. It closed. I love going to water. I think I've maybe mentioned this before to you. I love water. And I'm missing getting down to somewhere like Luss or Saltcoats or whatever. But when you get a stone and you throw it into the water, the pebble goes in, often quite, if it's small stone, often quite silently and unnoticed. And it's better on a still kind of water, even in a pond. But even though that small stone has dropped in the water, you see the ripple moving out and out in big draw circles. And when we, as Christians, when we experience God's great love and start sharing it by word and by deed, it too draws wide circles and it affects the world around us. Everyday heroes show small gestures of kindness, just like that young girl who helped the blind man. And by these small, delicate gestures, we can make this world a far better and a far happier and a far safer place. So let's make the effort to be kinder. Let's make the effort to be an everyday hero, not out of sense of duty, not because God promises a reward, but because such deeds will spread like a wildfire. We must understand the power of cumulative kindness. Yes, superheroes can change this world, but there is, quite simply, a major power in the little acts of kindness that spread across this world. And the force is so powerful because it is so contagious. And it can grow into something huge. We saw that with the veteran who walked 100 times around his nursing home. We see it with young children who try to copy him. Acts of kindness and acts of compassion will bring change. They'll bring hope and they'll lead to a more peaceful and a more just world. And that really should be our motivation, to inspire others, to encourage others, to make a real difference. That in itself should be the reward enough for each and every one of us. So let us commit to become everyday heroes. Let us commit to do something quietly in helping another, even a good stranger, even if it is dispensing a cup of cold water. Amen.